So it is Brian Wang here tonight on a Tuesday. Actually, you have a regular Wednesday night show with me, but then other than that, you could pop in anytime.
That's
So,
right. Yes.
well, one of the reasons I wanted you to pop in tonight was because we are now in a really, really funny trading pattern. Well, maybe not that funny,
Mhm.
but it's not very good for people that are traders because it's a really, really narrow trading pattern. And so here's how I see it. I'm going to tell you how I see it, and then you tell me it's okay to say I'm completely wrong. Okay.
Mhm. Sure.
All right. So I see it that we're bumping up against 440, unlikely to penetrate 440, but it's not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes you might say, oh, it tries on 443 times, therefore it's going to go down because it's bouncing up and it can't get through. And so that means it's horrible. It's going to go back to 320 or something. But I think in this case, it's just actually bouncing up against before it breaks through, and it needs a really big piece of news to do that.
Right. I agree.
Okay, that's half. That's half my idea. The other half of the idea is there's some resistance at 323, 324. There's really strong, I'm sorry,
423.
423, 424, and then there's strong resistance at 410. And so as it's doing this bouncing up against, the 440 number, if it does go down, it runs into those two resistance levels and is very unlikely to get lower than the 410 during this period as we approach the October 2nd date where the numbers are probably going to be a huge beat. That's my theory. Tell me what I've got right and wrong.
I think that yes, it's trying to squeeze between some numbers, right? But people can overrun, think, okay, we're breaking out, and then they buy on the upside and going up. Like we went to like 442, 443, right? We went over the
Mhm.
number, right?
Mhm.
And for like 2 hours we were there, and then we couldn't kind of hold it, and we went back down. And similarly, we can go down below some arbitrary 423, 420. We go down to 420. We can go down to like 415. You can really dip down as people sell out, and then it's like a false breakout either way,
Right.
right? So you have this narrow range, but going a little over, a little below for hours at a time
Mhm. Mhm.
um, is not a signal. And then even going a day, I break out. It's the daily thing has happened, right? I'm over,
Right.
but people can lose confidence and then go back down again, or can get more confident and think, hey, it's too low, and then back up. So these patterns and ranges are not solid. They're pretty solid. Like it's can be like, okay, keep running into it, and it just won't go, just because everyone's on the same page
Right.
of like, you know, I'm overpaying if I'm, over 440. That's the current thinking, is I'm
Yeah.
overpaying if I'm going 440. I will wait. I can, it was like 5 hours ago, it was below. I can wait 5 hours, and it's easy for people not to get FOMO or to freak out, either direction.
Yeah. So nobody's going to freak out right now because we're up against this big number.
Right.
So now they may start maybe on Monday.
Mhm.
I mentioned this a couple of times yesterday and today. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we break out over 440 on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday going into Thursday,
Yeah.
and people are trying to anticipate the fact that it's going to be this big beat. So that could happen.
Yeah.
But my feeling is that after we get the big beat, we'll settle down somewhere under 460, and then we'll be stuck there until the meeting, I think.
Um, I think there's enough other news in there, like really great Chinese numbers. Other things can happen. Like the surprise of um, Elon and Trump, being really friendly, shaking hands, being in the
Right,
same
right, right, right.
area for a long time. So like all this in a range thing is all the market players paying attention with the same information that we all have now
Right.
leading up to it. So it's like, what becomes different? Like if we see a bunch of Piper Sandler and other guys raising their targets by big numbers, going to 450, 500, all those things, for the institution of the people, that we were expecting that. That
Yeah.
is not out of line,
Yeah.
right? Numbers, continue to go up. Maybe they were expecting that. So now it's priced in, right? So what would be something new and shocking would be the confirmed substantial beat October 2nd, right? And if there's new information like a really good energy number,
Right.
not on the radar, and it happens, right? Like right now, if we only beat the car production number by, as 500,000, right? That might, say trade up and then down because it was pretty expected that they wanted to see it because it
Right.
means numbers, in 3 weeks
Right.
after that number because of the actual earnings call. So then they would say, okay, I'm anticipating that now, right? Yeah, so it's a lot of psychology around known unknowns and that kind of thing.
All right. So then I think you just said something else that I've been saying. Again, let me confirm it for sure. We've now had at least 5 price target increases from significant players, and those 5 are probably all that are going to matter. That we could get another 5 price target increases from people, and it would just be confirming what the other guys already said.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
The fact that lemmings are following the leader or whatever, it's like, yes, we know they behave that way. So it's not news. Yeah.
Right. And of course, at any time, we could have a major robotaxi breakthrough in terms of more cars on the road, taking out the rider.
FSD 14.
Yeah, yeah, right. FSD 14. Major news. Now, you said the other day you thought that the actual introduction, if the FSD 14 goes out to the employees, that wouldn't be enough. It's going to need, was that you? Or was that, I think
That's partially me. It's important. It's the first indicator,
right.
right? But them saying anything about it, they generally don't say anything about it
Right. Right.
until you get it to Hallmark and other people
Right.
to use it and then say, what does this mean, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we need to get it wider out and ideally out to everyone, right? That would be, and this case, it's because it's a substantial step up from where we already are. Like FSD, 13 point whatever is really, really good, right? So for FSD 14 to be transformational, you wouldn't know right away, right? You get
Mhm.
some indications, it could be, but you wouldn't be able to triangulate on it for I think a week, 2 weeks. So there's this lag because, as Elon says, it's so hard to test.
Right. 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 Exactly. Okay, so I haven't brought this one up before because I was kind of waiting for it to play out. It showed up first in some untrustworthy. Oh yeah, it's probably some electric magazine or something. And then this morning it showed up in the street, which I don't trust very much either. But apparently it's real. So a couple of Tesla enthusiasts decided to do the cross country trip, try to do it without touching the wheel, without touching the pedals. And unfortunately, within miles of starting, there was a big piece of slag, some kind of big piece of metal slag in the middle of the road. Apparently, with plenty of time to stop, they were commenting on the video, oh, there's a piece of whatever in the middle of the road. They didn't take over. They didn't try to avoid it. They ran over it, messed up their motor mounts or something, ended up on the side of the road and having to be towed away. Um, what are your first impressions of this? Does it matter? Is this something FSD 14 would get for sure? Is this just an edge case and these things are going to happen? How do you see it?
So they were using hardware for?
I'm assuming hardware. I don't think they would have tried the cross cross country thing
So
on
we've
hard.
had video tests of hardware 3 and hardware 4 with I think it was FSD 13, right? So there was the famous YouTuber Mark Rober who did a crappy set of tests and he did it with autopilot and
Right.
all kinds of stuff, right? So then someone, and I apologize, I can't remember his name, someone more thorough did it, did those tests, and he found that in terms of like the fake wall thing,
Right.
and then other detections of like water spraying and stuff like that. In general, hardware 4, an updated version of FSD could handle those situations,
Mhm.
not be fooled. But sometimes hardware 3
Right.
would fail,
Right.
against that. But that's been several months ago. Don't know what the other updates have done, but that was like not like 1,000 tests, right?
Yeah.
It was like 5 tests or something of various things,
Mhm.
right? So the fact that it's still can make mistakes is not surprising, and that's why right now we have not gotten the thing to like go ahead and change things. And then there's been some similar type tests done in China as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So basically, until we have FSD 14 and a few months in, then a step function change where we could be very, very certain that that kind of situation would not be a failure.
Mhm.
We are still at the, 500 to 15,000 miles. The 15,000 miles is if you have the FSD version in the Austin robotaxis.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And then there's even talk, some people saying that there were 2 or 3 super low speed
Accidents.
accidents or something like that happened, supposedly had to be reported to the federal thing,
I
even
think
though
one of
yeah
them for sure was backing. It was not its fault.
yeah it was someone else's
Two of
yeah
them might have been faulted. Yes.
right. So in terms of like the information data, we have incomplete stuff, and uh, definitely there is I think 5x to 10x improvement in the Austin version of it.
Mhm.
Um, but were there some safety monitor having to do something situation? Anyway, so bottom line is it's a statistical thing whether you could do this long ride, and you should not be looking at, hey, that's a big thing. I'll just let the car, not do something. It's like you have to intervene and take over.
Yeah, I suspect that it was because of the nature of what they were trying to prove, which
Yeah,
is that they could go across country. That if if they disengaged, they were out of business anyway. They would have not had their show if they disengaged. Now, I thought it was really cool that they still put it up.
yeah,
And these are Tesla Bulls, so
yeah.
but they still put it up. So anyway, okay, so that brings up another story, which is, and I talked about this a little bit the other day, and you and I talked about it off air. Right now we've got this FSD 14 versus FSD 13. I'm sorry, hardware 4 versus
Version
hardware
Harvard
3,
3.
and whether or not hardware 3 will ever be good enough to do the job.
Mhm.
And I I should have looked it up, but I'm going to forget the word again. There's a word, and it came up in somebody's analysis the other day, and they were suggesting that there was another way to reduce the number of inputs so that it would make more space available, I guess would be the right. I'm going to let you explain it in a minute. In fact, why don't you just explain it? I won't have to be such a doofus.
So, having a computer science degree and then going back to certain things around capacity of computer systems and that kind of thing, is that um, in order to shrink um, the size, computer CPU usage or memory of a particular software, like an operating system for like Microsoft or operating system for Apple or major software, right? Making something more compact for reduced hardware, like hardware 3 versus hardware 4, is um, tougher to do. You have to, especially, like the Tesla software team is really, really good. So then if they say, okay, I get it barely working on hardware 4, then it takes a lot of effort. It is mainly a matter of time and ingenuity to make it smaller or more efficient to run on an inferior system, right? Um, so, trying to think of some kind of examples of like, I don't know, a computer game, right? So you dump it out originally, and the speed with which they were dumping out computer games for Microsoft operating systems and desktop software was really, really easy. But then they wanted to convert it to a cheaper hardware system, like put it into an Xbox or something,
Right.
right? It takes longer. It's like I dump out the PC game first because I can just like as much memory they want, as much CPU they want, and then it would take time before they do it. And it could also be a compromised version,
Right.
where it's not quite as good.
Right.
Yeah, lower the resolution, I do all the kinds of stuff. So this is roughly the same principle, that there's ways to do it, and some of them could involve no trade-offs, some involve trade-offs, and there can be all kinds of things in terms of reducing memory, changing what I'm paying attention to. Yeah, so there's all kinds of ways to slice it to get it. So will it ever get to hardware 3? They have not said with confidence that they could. So if Elon and the team say, yeah, probably, yeah, I think we can get there, and they just a matter of time, but they don't commit to a time, and they don't say for sure that they can, then clearly it's not an easy problem. It's not like, oh, if we do, 1 through 10, we got it. It's in the bag, it'll happen, right? I'm sure they have a list of 1 through 10. The question is, how good is that? We don't know.
So here's a question I just thought of. Okay, we got Grok Fast now. And I just saw it today. It asked me if I wanted to do Grok Fast.
Yeah.
Now, up till now, the last couple of weeks, I think Grok Fast has really only been there for coders. And apparently it's #1 by a lot.
Yeah.
And has stuck at #1 by a lot for the whole 2 weeks. Apparently it's really good and really fast. So to show you my ignorance, I'm going to throw this one out there. So we have something as complex as FSD. Can you put FSD on Grok Fast and go, hey, Grok Fast, I need to get this onto a smaller operating system?
Yeah, no.
I mean, no, no.
So the nature of these programs and programming improvements is that it can give you suggestions. You can say, scan this code and give me suggestions to do it. But for something that complicated, you would have to definitely verify it yourself. And
okay, you have to verify it yourself, but it could give you recommendations.
It could give you recommendations, but the more complicated it is, the lower the chance that it's right.
Okay.
So, and I've had talked to people at certain high-tech companies who've used it, and it sent them on like 2 or 3 day wild goose chase. Saying something that seemed plausible.
Yeah.
And then turned out it was not correct.
Right.
But then people do use it for programming. But you do the programming task. There's a certain set of tasks, like user interface, there's other stuff where it can do quite a good job, right? All these programming systems can do that kind of thing. But to do something that complete, especially it's like you're 100 programmer team that are really super geniuses that are doing something, and then the AI is going to come over and see things that they don't. Unlikely. Actually, I would say pretty close to impossible right now.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So, yeah. So it could give you some ideas. It could say, give me some ideas. Help me brainstorm some stuff, and it could come up with some out of the box stuff, and that's where you would leave it, and then you would do the work yourself with perhaps some coding systems. Complete some task. Also, one thing would be that Grok Fast code versus the Grok 4 Fast for chat and whatever in XAI. Those are different products. So it just happens to have the same naming convention.
I see. Okay. All right. Here's one that's been bothering me. See, I know all these things have been percolating in my brain all week, and it's one that's been bothering me. Okay, so we've got a robust and I think a fair debate taking place on the world stage right now about the future of energy production resources. So Trump went on the United Nations stage today and he said, you guys who are doing all this green stuff around the world, you're going to go broke, which of course is his position. He also has his energy secretary.
I can't remember.
Yeah. I've almost got all these guys' names, but his name always gets out of my way. He's from Montana or someplace. Anyway, really smart. I really everything I've listened to has been very good. And he was on the All In podcast a week ago when they were having their summit, and he finally gave me a little pause about just how much solar and battery might be able to do in the short term. That he wasn't denying that maybe solar and battery and nuclear is going to be all of it. He never said, no, that won't be all of it someday. But in the short term, he felt like, no, it's going to come from fossil fuels and nuclear. Coal even is still going to be a big player. So you are my number one expert on the complete gamut. And you're talking to these nuclear companies all the time. What are you now thinking in terms of the next 5 years? What's it going to look like over the next 5 years?
The next 5 years, well, one, the trend has been that in terms of adding new power by the world, we have traditionally been adding more natural gas power in terms of like total gigawatt hours of power.
Right. And he did say he thought natural gas would be the big winner over the next 5 years. Yeah.
Right. And the for AI, it's best to use natural gas right now,
Yep.
if you can.
Mhm.
The problem right now is that for the big natural gas turbines, the major makers like GE has a subdivision called Verona, I think.
Right.
And they also have split up GE, so like three pieces of it. So GE Power. Anyway. So for that major maker, and then for some others, it will, if you order one right now, you will get it sometime between 2028 and 2030 or 2032, because there's these 4 to 7 year delays, right? Because they have a back order of 60 gigawatts, right?
Wow.
So that's GE's particular backlog is 60 gigawatt hour, 60 gigawatts of things. So that's each one's about 290 to 435, yeah. So then basically your 60 gigawatt, you're looking at about a back order about like 180. They're completing about 5 gigawatts a quarter, so 20 gigawatts every year. So that means they're completing 50, 60 per year, right? That's their construction rate.
Right.
So basically, you have to wait because, and then there's priority versus non-priority. So priority, you get it in 2028. You can tack it on at the end, late 2028.
Yeah.
You're paying priority. What does priority mean? That means you're like paying double, maybe 3 times as much. You got like really want it. So you're an AI company that says, I really, really want that turbine, right? And I'm gonna pay to, bump someone out to get it, right? So the non-priority is I'm paying the regular price, it's being close to the regular price because GE probably even raised that price too. And then I would get it later, right? Which is why if I'm in a race to build an AI data center, I can say, well, maybe I've got to look at other options or I'm going to be okay with waiting quite a long time.
Right.
And then also when you get that done would be a year to a year and a half after you got the turbine, because you got to build a bunch of stuff.
Right.
Like this thing is a monster thing. You made a whole power plant. You can do stuff ahead of time, and you're supposed to, but then you got to do stuff to complete it. Anyway, so big long delays for that. So then, what has Elon been doing? Because he's in a hurry into doing XAI. They've been doing different forms of mobile turbines, right? Where basically it's like on the back of a truck, semi-truck. I pull up a turbine or multiple ones or something like that, or I get it onto a train thing, I get it delivered. So those are smaller versions of the same natural gas stuff. And they can get up to 35, 38 megawatts, which would be about 10% of the size of the other ones. But I can get a bunch of them. It's like pull them up in trucks and then do the connections, right? So that is faster. Technically, depending on the location, you can't get the permits, those often temporary permits. The loophole that I'm putting this thing in
temporary.
temporarily, right? But then I do it, and then I try and get my power company to build an actual one or divert power or do something, right? So then building more solar and battery. Solar and battery is, great for houses and that kind of stuff, and for apartment blocks and all that other thing, but it's not as well suited for various features for the AI data center, right?
Mm-hmm.
xAI and Elon are using about 250, so they're increasing to 1 gigawatt hour of batteries. So for 4 hours, they could pump out a gigawatt, right? Or 4 hours, they can pump out 250 or something like that. So it's useful for evening things out. It's useful for surges of power when I want to do a big calculation and then run it for a period of time, right? But only for 4 hours. And they got to let it come down. I got to do a lot less, charge them up again and do something, right? So it depends upon how they're using these kind of things. Doing one that was only solar and batteries, I would need to build probably about 5 times to 10 times as much solar as for the batteries, because I'm only got 8 hours of daylight.
Right.
And then I got and maybe then it's not even good daylight. Maybe it's not very strong, right? So they can only charge up so much. I need a lot more panels to get to that number, and I got to fill up battery packs, and then I got to be discharging them, and I have to work something out. And I do not believe anyone has done that yet.
So Elon just started building, I think, is it 500 acres of solar in near that
Colossus 1, Colossus 2. Yes, I think they both have roughly 500 acres, 640 acres in a square mile, so just shy of a square mile of it. And I think that's like 80 megawatts and something like that. It's nice to top up. It would be the equivalent of 15, 20 megawatts of nuclear power, because nuclear power is like generating like 90%, etc. So it's good for topping up, and it's good for getting to their full gigawatt, right, that they want at that location. And I want to get to like 3 gigawatts. So it's good for building it quickly, but it's not, the megawatts are not equal, right? So it's, and then using it for the purpose of, I need to get 200 gigawatts of AI data center power and stuff like that. It's not well suited for that. But if I provide a lot more solar, then I can have that power the houses and things.
Oh, that's what I was
and then you displace and say, now I can divert the power to this reactor.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. So they could make a deal with the local utility and say, okay, we're going to build this. We're going to just put it into the grid, and then we want to use it in this way, and then they can figure out how to. So then you go, yeah, okay, all right. Now you need, if you do that though, that's where now you're going to run into the lack of transformers, right?
Right, and then you have the lack of transformers. Right.
Yeah.
So whatever your option is, you want to avoid multiple shortages, right? Which goes to the starting second half of next year, Tesla making the Mega Block combination, where it's like 4 new mega packs with a transformer there, medium voltage, so that you can avoid some of the shortage and just like put stuff there and then add the power in. But in terms of the shortcuts and the trade-offs, all the tricks are being applied by Elon and the xAI team and by the Tesla teams to get their data centers up and running faster.
And that's been clear. So, so again, you're really specializing in the nukes and the mini nukes.
Right.
Now that we've had a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks now since the president announced they were going to like get all the regulations out of the way, and they're going to make it, come on, you guys, let's get this done by July 4th of 2026. Let's get some of these things ready to go. What are you hearing out there?
Well, the July 2026 thing, or the anything in 2026, is for small test reactors.
Okay.
It is, like
not for a finish, not for a commercial ready to go.
Not for a commercial big one, not for like 100 megawatts, not for like 500 megawatts.
Right.
It's for like a 1 megawatt prototype,
Mhm.
right? And even that, is substantial, but it's like normally you have a gigawatt, like the ones we made through the 60s and 70s,
Right.
the ones we made in France, the ones we made in China. Predominantly, they're roughly 1 gigawatt-ish, some 600, some 1.5, that size of thing, right? And takes about 4 to 6 years to make one in China. Used to take, 5 to 7 years in the United States back in the 60s and 70s. And then for some reason in Europe and the US now, it takes like 15 or 20 years
Right.
to make one, right? So because of, no need to go into it, but
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of issues, regulations, blah, 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 shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
So now Trump is trying to undo the shooting in the foot thing
Right.
to shorten it up. And he's also throwing these incentives and things to like, if you can do it, we wouldn't want you to, like make the small reactor work. And a small reactor at 1 megawatt is an entirely different animal than the big ones, right? Just like
Right.
it's just like,
Right.
again, shipping container versus a baseball stadium.
But these MSR, what do they call them?
Small modular reactor.
SMRs. These SMRs are, a lot of people think they would be part of the solution, right? So
Right. So the thing is, small modular reactors
right.
are, by the industry definition, smaller than 300 megawatts.
Okay.
Right. And modular meaning that you're going to, in theory, make them in some kind of mass-producing kind of way.
Right.
If it's really small, it's shipping containers is like I'm making megapacks.
Right.
Or I'm making jet engine turbines.
Right.
You could make them at like 1,000 a shot.
Mhm.
Right. If it's bigger, you can't really make large numbers, and the smaller size, again, if the big ones are a baseball stadium, a football stadium, small would be the size of a 8-10 story building with 100 units inside. Right?
Okay.
It's like, it's not really small. It's
Right.
small compared to the other thing, right? And I can't mass produce them like I've got a factory pumping them out, right? Per se, right? But maybe I can make it, in some conditions in a year or 2 years, right? Because it's like making units for the compact units that go into submarines.
Yeah.
Right. So then it's, again, the engineering, I'm scoping to something that's smaller and more mass producible. But all of these things, I would be very surprised if anyone makes a total of 1 gigawatt of new reactor, 4 250 megawatt reactors, 100 10 megawatt reactors by 2030. I'd be very surprised that happens.
Okay.
Can we get 1 or 2 happening? Yes, we can, right? In theory. But again, execution. It's possible, but hard, right? It's just like Elon, I've made the impossible just late.
Yes.
Right? We're doing a bunch of stuff for the first time that people would say would be impossible. And the fact that you're shooting for something doesn't mean you hit it. It could be just late, right? No,
so we could get some of these Chinese makers to come in and help us. Maybe that's not a very likely thing, but I understand the South Koreans are pretty good at this too.
Yeah.
Would the South Koreans be helping us to try to get there?
Yeah. So they will be. Yes,
Okay.
they are doing that, and I have information in that regard, but I can't discuss it.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So Korea is probably going to do something. China, because of the whole some politics stuff
Nuclear.
going on.
Yeah,
right? Oh, there's a bunch of politics going on there. So China's not going to do it. Like, China's going to doing all the stuff for their own reactors. They do want to export reactors. They have exported reactors to Eastern European countries, to some Asian countries, to the Middle East and stuff like that. But it's, I would say, not going to happen for the United States. Like, Bill Gates was trying to have them build him a reactor for his company. And then he had to back off because of the political thing that happened, right? So I would say that will not happen, right? And then in terms of China making small modular reactors, they have several designs in the books. So theirs were, China made a wide range of reactor types. The traditional ones that have been around for the longest time that everyone's made is boiler water reactors and pressure water reactors. pressure water reactors being a boiler reactor, except I keep the lid on and I get like the word pressure and go to higher temperatures and a bit more pressure. So those are the traditional big ones. And then China's also made some other what they call fourth gen reactors, new ideas developed in the West that
Mhm.
they said, hey, we'll build that. And they have done that. But the number of fourth gen reactors and non-pressure water and boiler water reactors is small. But China has done that. They've done that one for a pebble bed reactor, which they talked big about making that quicker, cheaper, and doing that. But they've only made one commercial reactor at 210 megawatts, right? They have not started the second one. They've talked about it. I've tracked that for like 15 years, right? And it took longer. It took them, I think, close to 10 years. They said we would do it in 5 or 6. And then,
Right.
this is China. Normally, they do it fast, and it took them longer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, um, all the people can say that they're going to build their small modular reactor, and I believe some of the competence to do it, but it had not been done. When they say I'm going to do it by then, it's like I have the confidence, the technology, the technical skills, and we have the team, and we have the money and all that kind of stuff, and we're going to shoot for that thing. But it's just like Elon saying I'm going to make a robotaxi
Yeah.
in 2 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Our 4680s by the jillions.
Right.
All right. So Jensen Huang came out this morning. He seemed to be really excited about the H-1B visas, the new $100,000 program. Initially, I think Elon was a little upset, seemed to not be happy with the idea, but now it sounds like the tech world might be thinking this is a really good way to get the best and most talented people in the country. So,
Right.
what's your take?
Yeah, I think we discussed it that if you got a tech company, you plan to play someone who's really good, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million, $10 million, whatever, then $100,000 is nothing, right? So for the tech companies, it's a minimal tax to them, right? For a non-tech company, and I'm not sure how many non-tech companies are trying to get H-1Bs anyway, because they end up being like a lottery system.
Yeah.
Like it's weird. So for a non-tech company to get it just because they got in the queue, now really the tech companies know we don't have to worry about those guys anymore, right? If you're not a tech company, or someone, I guess, I don't know, finance or something, if you don't got money, you're not getting an H-1B guy. So that cleans things up. It also shows that they can pay to play and get their people.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing I was saying on my channel yesterday was it seems to me that I'm not sure that Trump had this in mind, although the longer he's in office and the more things he does, I'm beginning to believe he is a financial genius. I mean, he is just a financial genius. Nobody gets it. He's way beyond what he is on finance, he's the Elon Musk, okay? So maybe he had this in mind, but one of the biggest categories that we're going to have a problem with over the next 12 months in terms of jobs is going to be these $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 tech guys who are probably going to be laid off and won't be able to, they'll have to take a job for a mere 80,000 or something. So if we pull back, if we get, pull back on the low end entry jobs that are going to H-1Bs, then this will potentially increase the amount of money that people can make at that level.
Yeah. So I worked in technology for a long time, from the time of the first internet boom, like from 1996 to, they had a dot bomb in like 2001, 2002, that kind of thing. And, I did come in, from
Right.
Canada and that kind of stuff. I didn't come on a H-1B because they had something called a free trade TN1 visa. So I came in that way.
Mhm.
But once I was in and able to work in the United States and get my green card and all that kind of stuff, then the flood of H-1Bs did prevent the escalation of salaries.
Uh,
If it wasn't for that, instead of $100 an hour, could have gone to 200, $300 an hour, right? So for the high-end workers, they got the flood of extra competition from overseas suppressed the cap. It was, you're making good money,
Yeah.
but it was preventing it from going higher,
Right.
right? Now I think there's a global overall shortage, so it's not necessarily
Mhm.
keeping wages down
Mhm.
that much, but it definitely was some, it's a supply and demand. If
Yeah.
I double supply,
Yeah.
I've kept it going from where it would have been if supply had been not increased.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So was there any hiccups in that H-1B thing that you saw that were problematic, or does it just sound like it's a good deal for the tech world and we'll be able to get some of those really solid scientists to come over and be part of the
So,
American.
so I think um, yeah, even though it's $100, like $1,000 to $100,000, it's in the grand scheme of things, because so much money is being thrown around, it's a
Right.
minor economic signal,
Yeah.
right? And it's a signal to put some effort into getting the local talent,
Yeah.
right? So it's saying, try harder to solve it locally. But for companies, they probably had to try some effort to get hire, local American people anyway.
Yeah.
But it is, they do have a lot of ageism and various other things, right? And then if people have been sidelined too long, they're not, the skills aren't considered fresh enough
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
right?
course.
So any there's only so much movement you can get out of this whole job market,
Yeah.
because the people who have the skills have them, and whether you had to go here or there is like, you should have been turning over every stone. It's kind of like um, does the NBA or Major League Baseball, do they look in Cuba
Right.
or someplace else, or hunting down some small European country players and that kind of stuff. Like, if you were looking for the high quality talent, you would have looked everywhere, and you would have also tried to look locally and try to develop
Right.
talent and do stuff,
Right.
right? But a lot of them may not have the foresight to make that plan happen. Now they have more signal to do that. Will they do it? Unclear.
Yeah. All right. The president spoke before the UN today, and he was really, really tough. I was wondering whether he was going to pull out and give them an eviction notice, but he didn't do that. Um, so, what did you think about the president's talk today?
To me, it sounded um, clear, coherent, and everything made sense. And he was calling out to things that are true, that the UN doesn't do much. It's just talking and not acting and all that kind of stuff. So those are various true statements. He said that they, waste money, which is all true. He gave specific examples about it, which he would have personal insights into. Um, so that was clear as well. Um, but to me, like, the UN hasn't been doing much of anything for a long time. And he did say, that you have the potential to do something. Like, the idea
Yeah.
of the UN
Yeah.
is great, talk and achieve peace and all that kind of stuff. But you have to actually walk the walk, and that had not happened.
Yeah, so I wonder if this is probably not in his first 2 years, but I wonder if maybe in his second 2 years he'll do the what he maybe do to the UN what he did to NATO and go, you know what? If you guys aren't gonna if you're not gonna do this right, why are we even part of it?
Yeah.
And with no intention of actually pulling out, but with the intention of, getting them to step up.
I don't think there is a bunch of, like, monetary things. Like, NATO has, where it's a tighter, more effective group, and they have done more things,
Right.
and they have people paying in. So the UN has virtually no dues. It is just a debating club, right? Where people join, and again, it's a prestige thing and something else. So it is far, far more useless than it is. But they have had things where they say, okay, we'll chip in peacekeepers via the UN umbrella,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there are things where you could take that and do more with it. And again, all the countries are there, so you're then addressing them and doing things. Um, it would take a lot of creativity and a whole change into, you have to basically create it from new, because you're starting from really something that's not anything to actually get to, and now here's a vision for something new. So basically, you're it's like a new startup.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've agreed that Tesla is going to break out later this year. We're agreeing that we're probably looking at, by the way, a couple of real analysts, not like you and me, but real analysts are now in the 600, 700 range. What's his, I forget his name now. He's he's not a real analyst either. He's like more like you and me, he actually does it for a living. I forget his name. He's on micro to macro or some kind of, anyway, but he's a technical guy, all 100% technical.
Mhm.
And he said today 900 by next year. So
Okay.
so he's now come into our club. So
Right.
we won't be completely the only ones out there, Brian.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we are the good analysts,
That's
and
right.
the fact that they come to us, that shows that we were right first.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I know. Pretty soon,
Yeah.
MSN, CNBC. Pretty soon, CNBC will be calling, and then when we go on there, we'll get it wrong because it's the pressure. We'll start to make wrong predictions because of the pressure.
I don't think CNBC has ever pulled people on because they were right about anything. Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Okay, Brian. Well, I guess that's all for today. For all of you out there that let us know in the comments below. I'm sure that no, you know, isn't it Brian White that always goes, "What did we get right? What did we get wrong?" But I've got Brian Wang on here, so we got nothing wrong. So
That's right.
I don't know how to conclude, Brian. I'll just say, let us know in the comments below what you thought.
Okay.
Any suggestions or ideas? All right, you'll be on again tomorrow night at the Good News Hour,
Yeah.
and we'll see if there's good news tomorrow. Maybe Tesla will be back up to 438 or something like that, but not about 440.
Okay.
It's been great talking to you.